I'm continuing my series of videos on the 10 tools that you need, or the 8+2 tools, and in this video I'm going to talk about 5 to 10. And very quickly, number 5 is your camp knife or knives. You can have more than one. Fixed blade knives. Number 6 are your smaller folding knives. Number 7 is your multi-tool. Number 8 is a foldable pruning saw. And the items, number 9 and number 10. These are 9 and 10, not because they're any less important, but because they're the two items, the 8+2 items, and they're stuck on the end. The first 8 are really tools. Number 9 is needles. 3 needles. You buy yourself a packet of needles. You get the smallest needle, the largest needle, and one in between. You put the 2 smallest needles in your first aid kit. I've spoken about that in my video about a basic first aid kit. The largest needle you can put safely in your pack. I put mine in a Ziploc bag, wrap it up in a rubber band so it bulks it out and you can't lose it. Put it somewhere safe. And they're a great multi-use item for sewing, repair, and first aid and so forth. And number 10 is some sort of a small sharpening stone or a diamond rod or a ceramic plate or something just to clean up and sharpen your blades and knives and edges out there in the field. You're not going to carry a full-sized sharpening stone, but small mini ones or a diamond rod is a good option. So they're the 2 items which normally the needles you pretty much should have all the time. The sharpening stone diamond rod is a can-have item that you can take with you if you want. Now let's go through 5 to 8. The camp knife or knives are fixed blades, and your camp knife is all those smaller EDC knives, everyday carry knives, all your sort of buck knives for skinning, smaller jobs, carving and so forth. Your Mora knives, for example, are camp knives. You can argue that the largest Mora knives might be in the smaller working knife range, but most of those Mora knives are in the camp knife category. The best way to talk about camp knives is to cite examples, and that's all your sort of the best way I can describe it is your Mora knives, those sorts of everyday carry knives for their smaller, lighter jobs. I've got a video where I talk about my camp knife concept in this playlist, but in that video the idea I had at that time was just cheap kitchen knives, which is still very much an option. I've got a couple of examples in that video of just cheap kitchen knives you can take out, do many jobs around camp, cooking and so forth. But then after that I realised that the camp knife category could include all those sorts of knives, those smaller fixed blade knives, 2.5, 3, 3.5, maybe 4-inch max for the blades. This Swiss Army knife, the largest blade is 2.5 inch. So imagine a 3-inch or 3.5 inch with a nice sturdy blade, nice sturdy handle, can do all those sorts of jobs. For example, the Mora knife. I hope that explains the camp knife concept. You can have a couple of those in your pack quite easily for all those smaller jobs. Folding knives, number 6. Like I showed you here, the Swiss Army knives, smaller pen knives, folding knives, all those sorts of folders you can put in your pocket, very lightweight for smaller jobs, very handy tools. And like my Swiss Army knife here, I'm not going to advocate that you have to carry a knife like this all the time, but I slip that in my pocket, in my pack, wherever, and it's very handy to have a small knife with a couple of small tools out there to do lots of jobs. So they're your smaller folding knives. The multi-tool, some sort of a multi-tool, pliers, a few tools, another blade option, of course very handy, and the foldable pruning saw to give you some cutting power, very handy to cut things. Now I'm going to talk about 7 and 8 a bit more. This is arranged in my order of preference and order of effectiveness. Now this is my personal opinion. What I advocate is take those tools, especially if you're a younger sort of inexperienced novice beginner out there. It's good to have those tools, multi-tools, foldable pruning saws, to give you those options out there. Very handy tools, but personally, my personal advice is that those 2 tools are virtually useless. Yes, they may sound unusual and sound a bit controversial, but they're next to useless for me. If you've got more experience, you can just have your bigger tools. I hardly ever use, need or take multi-tools or foldable pruning saws with me into the field. I just don't use them. I used to always carry them. A multi-tool is quite heavy. It's relatively heavy in my definition of heavy, because when you're trying to save every ounce in your pack, a multi-tool is quite heavy, and a foldable pruning saw takes up weight and room and volume as well. So they're tools that I hardly ever use, hardly ever need, and I think they're quite useless, but for beginners and so forth, they're very handy tools. The one area where those two tools can be handy, especially the small saw on the multi-tool and the foldable pruning saw, is if you want nice clean cuts. If you're trying to make, for example, a slingshot, harvest a wide piece from a tree, a branch, or make a bow fire drill set, carve notches and so forth, you want nice clean cuts, that's where those saws can come in handy. I fully appreciate that. But you know, it's 7 and 8 for a reason. They're there, you can take them as an option, but for me, they're almost next to useless. So I can talk more about that if you want, but that's my personal opinion, but I advocate you have them. So that's basically 5 to 8 for those tools. So that's the top 10 tools that you need. The 8+2, the machete and the small axe is your top 2 tools. Heavy tools for heavy work, chopping, your main working knife, your smaller working knife, and the 3A chopping tool for medium tools, for medium work, and maybe some chopping in emergencies for that chopping tool. Or your light tools for light work, the camp knives, the fixed blade, the folding knives, smaller folding knives, the multi-tool and foldable pruning saw, and those items, the needles, 3 needles I believe in, and the sharpening stone and diamond rod is an option. So there's the 10 tools. I hope you find that interesting. Any questions or comments, let me know, and I'll see you next time.